Hello and welcome to the 2-Minute Warning. I'm your host, Torey Busby. The 2-Minute Warning is brought to you by the Westside Gazette newspaper, who has been serving the South Florida area for over 50 years. And joining me is my co-host and the publisher of the Westside Gazette. And I just want to say welcome back, my brother. He's been on a long sabbatical. Mr. Bobby Henry, how you doing?
I'm fine, Perry, man.
Well rested, I know.
Well, you gotta rest up from the rest.
Right.
But no, man, thank you very much, and I'm glad to be back, man. I missed it. I had an opportunity to be not a participant, but a viewer.
Right.
From a different perspective. And I must admit, man, that show was pretty good, man. Y'all really
had a great time.
Hurt my feelings, man. I'm saying, God, y'all don't need. I'm gonna quit.
No. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna switch seats, and I'm gonna let you drive this as I prepare for a little sabbatical myself real soon. So I'm just letting you know.
You stay close, man. Stay close. So I know you're getting ready to do some things, and I'm looking forward to it for you, Perry. I truly am. I think I'm gonna live vicariously through what you do.
No, we're gonna all live through this, and so I'm excited. So
yeah, it's a great thing. Like I say, I'm glad to be back. For those who may not have had an opportunity to visit the left coast, the other side of this great continent of ours, if you get a chance, do so, and please go to Portland, Oregon. And if you get a chance, visit the Willamette Valley. That is a wine valley in Oregon. Beautiful country, I mean, and it's trust me, it's well worth it.
Yeah.
But
and I was fortunate to see some of the pictures you shared with us. It was a great, as I said, it was great living vicariously through you.
And it's something else. But like all places, unfortunately, living in America and in the world, period, there is an extremely amount of violence, and a lot of that violence and malfeasance is coming from our youth. It's a shame, but it's happening. Now, also, unfortunately, when I returned back home, some of the things that I was reading about as it pertains to our lovely city of Fort Lauderdale, again, it makes you wonder, makes you want to scratch your head and wonder just what's going on.
Yeah, and as you say, this is nationwide, and there doesn't seem to be a immediate solution, and it harkens me to again, and I hate to get like well, I should say I hate to, but I know when I get like my father and start quoting scripture, that's just me trying not to quote, but we're truly in a time where the rocks are crying out. If we don't see our kids as rocks crying out for help while we play these adult games, then I think we're fooling ourselves.
Yeah. Are they crying out, or are they trying to emulate something that some image that they feel, excuse me, or what are we portraying? What are we showing our youth?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's an important question that bears answering. And I think that if we start to think about it, I think we can come up with solutions as opposed to continuing to point and say, how long? There are some solutions out there. We've got to get out there and support those that are doing those things. And then I think the most important thing is listen to the people who are on the front lines.
Now, when you say listen to the people on the front line, a lot of times that goes straight to our leadership.
Are they on the front line?
They're supposed to be. You mean that they're not?
No, not according to our European way of fighting wars.
Oh, okay.
No, the king sits back. No.
Oh, so they're
sending them out. Right.
Okay.
No, we're not talking about the king going out and
No.
leading or no, we're not talking about the leaders. No.
Okay, let's. You and I were talking earlier after reading some articles, and I reached out to the brother to see if he wanted to talk about some of the things that had been printed about what was transpiring in the city of Fort Lauderdale with so quote unquote parties and this atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm what's your thoughts on that? What are we talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I do know my ears needs to be bigger than my mouth at this point, and I need to listen to those people who understand it better so that we can understand it better, so that we can speak to these issues better. I mean, these are our children. And so I think it behooves us to understand, the world that they're in. I mean, I think we all remember growing up, those adults who just didn't understand the world we was in and sort of pointed a finger. I mean, and we were just being kids. I think we owe that to our kids to help understand this new environment and not try to fit them into an old scheme of how we do things.
Okay. Well, let's do this. Since you jumped all around what I was trying to get you to talk about, you just left me out there. I'm gonna do it. I'll bring it to the front. Okay. Well, there's some articles and stuff being printed about one of our newly elected county commissioners, Mr. Robert McKenzie. Now, the city of Fort Lauderdale has been trying to revamp and rebuild through some CRA initiatives, create a new sense of economic value to this area. And this area I'm talking about is the historic Sistrunk area, or the district. Would it be district? What is this? 5 or 3? Yeah, it's 5.
Help me.
Yeah. So it's the Sistrunk quarter district, all right? And so there have been some articles written in the Sun Sentinel about these alleged parties that started out maybe at 19,000 and up to 30,000. One hit 40,000, and Mr. McKenzie is stating that, according to the article, he's doing this to bring life back to this area. However, there are those who believe that it's him using it as a platform for his seek for the county commission. Now, there are those who have and will always believe that the Sistrunk corridor is the heart of the Black community, and therefore there is a need. It may need more than other parts of the city to be rejuvenated, and I agree with that as well. Now, Commissioner Glassman and Mayor, and I mess his name up sometime, Dean Trantelis, yeah, seem to think that Mr. McKenzie was using all of this as a platform to spring his campaign. Now, the latest article was about how much was spent?
Close to $500,000. And I did not, forgive me, you're right. I went all around it. I did not know that you were trying to hit that one.
Well, you said she was going to.
Okay. No, but to your point, the latest ticket on that concert, which was I think the Slam Jam, was close to $500,000. And while Mr. McKenzie is right now at the forefront of that, I do blame all the leaders, including Dean Trantelis, because how are you going to let $500,000 go out of your coffers and no one knows? And especially someone, if you're saying, oh, he was doing this, to, further his own campaign ambitions, I think all of you further your own campaign ambitions.
Now, and when the mayor said what he said, I can remember specifically when the mayor told me that when we asked him to get involved with another situation that pertains to Mr. McKenzie's district, the mayor said to us, "I don't get involved in other commissioners' district." Well, what is this?
It's politics.
Okay.
And as you say, politics, but I think that that's the even bigger discussion in terms of us understanding politics and us not continuing to be used even by those who share our skin. And it's high time. And again, this is not a Broward issue, as you've said. You've seen it in Oregon. I've seen it in other places. And no one's trying to pick a fight at anyone. This is not personal. But as a taxpayer spending $500,000 on a concert when I know that there is water problems here, we have mental health issues, take your pick. $500,000 so somebody can shake their ass again, and I'm all for having a good time. But in light of what we're dealing with, $500,000, and all we're getting for it is our leaders pointing fingers, is ill-advised, and it's time that we begin to take a closer look, not just at this, but let's compare the other malfeasance and lack of services that are happening along the 3311 corridor, and it has Black hands connected to it. Let's talk about that as well.
Yeah. See, and if we're going to move forward collectively, if a rising tide brings all things up, then we got to talk about everything and everybody to get us to where we need to be. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to say that if there's a voice in the community that is a voice of the community, then I would hope that those who represent the community would be able to use that voice, and we don't get just a one side to a story. Everybody can paint and taint things the way they want to, and however, there is an undercurrent subjective that is happening, and the streets are talking, and you're going to hear more about what is being said and how this is being orchestrated. So
and I do want to stand corrected. I do want to thank Aretha Wembley. She said it is personal. If your quality of life could be impacted by strategic reallocation of resources, it is important, and it is personal. And so, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, it is personal in that regard. But this is not a political attack against any one individual, to speak against any political agendas that are out there. What did Malcolm say? I'm against injustice, no matter who is for or who is against. I'm against it.
And I see we got a lot of folk listening in, looking in, and listening this evening. I see Mr. Roderick Harvey. What's happening, man? Fort Lauderdale native, a CPA, just an exceptional guy doing business in the city of Fort Lauderdale. I see we got somebody from Miami, Renee S. Jones, a world traveler, a Pacific Coast Highway navigator, just Gloria Lewis. Thank you for joining in. I'm just seeing, I see, is that Latricia Greaves? And she says there are always concerts going on in the city of Fort Lauderdale and other districts. And you're so right. They are. Okay, so that's one thing. Now let's get to what we're gonna do this evening, man.
Okay.
Because we got some good stuff coming up. We were talking about this youth violence, and I think something happened at one of the Board Anderson High School games, football games, and there was some shooting involved. And I think just today, I don't know if it was in Miami, but again, 16-year-old youth robbed two youths and shot them for their cell phones. So this violence is occurring all over the country, and it seems to be getting younger and younger. So we thought that let's hear from somebody who was involved in a game. I'm not saying a game, but was involved in the game perhaps doing some unscrupulous stuff, but has turned his life around. If we could bring on the screen, please, Mr. Devon Palmer. And Devon is no stranger to our show. What's happening, Devon?
Hey, how you doing? Peace and blessings to the world. What's happening?
It's all good. Devon, we were talking, when I got back, and we were talking about some of the things that were happening. And I asked you, what was your take on the situation of the violence that occurred at this Boyd Anderson event? And you were sharing with me some stuff that perhaps we don't think about from the outside.
Right. Well, my personal perspective on this situation is like this. I feel like the youth, the kids, or whatever y'all want to call them, us, we I ain't gonna say we, but them, they don't value life. You know what I'm saying? They don't value life as a whole. You know what I'm saying? They just shoot, kill. It's like they living a life of Grand Theft Auto, to keep it real with you. And it's like it's tit for tat. And it's like it's a big problem. It's actually sad when an individual could come to a stadium or a game and shoot kids and women and even men. You don't have no regards to life. Even the little guy from that's 16 years old in Miami who shot the two 12-year-olds, or even the little individual who robbed the gas station that was 9 years old. It's like they don't have no regards for life. They don't care about no consequences or punishment. They just feel like they grab the gun and they shoot. Even though we all know it's so easy to get a gun. Ain't nothing to get a gun, to go in the streets and get a gun, and they shoot and kill. And it really goes deeper, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't care at all.
But Devon, you say that, and I know you mean it to be true, but you said something so cavalierly that I don't think people quite get. You said you can get on a gun on the streets easily. How easily?
I could get you a 9 milli or AK-47, probably no less than $500. I get you a 9 milli for $50. I can get you an AK-47 right now for $500. No pressure. Like it could be like this second nature on you. You get the gun. We call them throwaway Glocks. You shoot, and throw them away without no problem. They floating around like flies.
Now let's say this, and Devon is not a gun dealer.
No.
Understand? No. And so see, this is how a disconnect occurs.
Right.
Here we are having a legitimate conversation with somebody who has been there, has turned his life around, and I'm sure that there's some that cannot vibe with what he's saying, but this is the truth. Now, Devon, last night you sent me a news clip. I think it was from Memphis.
Yeah, from Memphis. Was riding around basically just randomly shooting people. Mm-hmm. Killed one lady, and I don't know who else passed or made that transition, but killed one lady, and they was looking for him, and that was live when I sent that to you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they had the city on lockdown, and they was afraid. And like I say, in my opinion, if we don't do something about it, we basically head down the path of self-destruction. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got the community trying to get right, but you got the youth and the other individuals that's committing the crimes going left. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but you got to have them conversations, and you got to grab on to your youth, grab them and hold them. Because if you don't grab them and hold them, they're going to pick up them things. They're going to pick up them guns and go to shooting. And the parents got to step down on their kids too. We can't blame the fathers. We can't blame the mothers. We just need to come together as a collective, as a community.
So Devon, now what was it that deterred you, that allowed you to see another way?
Oh, well, I'm gonna keep it 1,000 with you. Prison. I didn't want to go back to prison. I wanted to make my life better. You know what I'm saying? And I have 2 children of my own. Like, I don't want that for them. You know what I'm saying? I want to be a part of their life. I want to raise them to be upstanding citizens. Did it? So that is simple. I ain't got to go deep. I ain't got to go to the lab. It's simple. Like, I just wanted to change my life.
When you talk and communicate, it makes me feel good. The fact that you transcend and reach several levels, and and that's to be respected and commended, So do you talk to that faction, that side of the track often, or what?
All the time, every day of the week. And I try to give them game. Basically, that's what it is. I try to give them game because we all know to every action, there's a reaction. You don't want to go down that path, man. The prisons is ugly. And, death is even uglier. You don't want to go down that path, because there's consequences behind that. You're going to hurt your family. You're going to hurt your mom, your dad, your relatives who care about you. You don't want to go down that lane.
Okay.
And there ain't no reward out of it. You might get rewards from the beginning. You might get a little, you know what I'm saying, a dopamine shot in your head, like you feel real good, but that's just for the moment. You chasing the thrill.
Okay. All right, Devon, we're gonna have you back.
Yeah, we gotta have a deeper conversation on that.
We're gonna call it 15 minutes with Baby D. We have you back. How's that, man? Is that cool?
Yeah. Hey, just I'll send you an invoice.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you, Devon.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.
All right.
Wow, man. We need to have more conversations.
We do.
Okay.
We do.
Okay. So what's happening? What we got going on next here? Let's see what's going on.
Yeah, well, see, when you jumped up with the concert, you threw me off. I thought we was, but that's fine. I'm still catching up. I know you came back from sabbatical and you full all this vigor and everything.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Taking all that seaweed.
Portland, Oregon.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Our next guest and this gentleman here is a true product of Fort Lauderdale, Broward County, if you will. I'll just say Broward County because he did some things and Pompano at Blanchile. He set some records in terms of youth advocacy. He was set on the school board as a student, and it's he's married. He's a proud husband, a graduate of Florida University. He was appointed by by the governor as a former Broward County commissioner. Okay, he's married. Again, I say he's married. He has 2 children. He's a graduate of the Florida A&M University. He's a life member of the NAACP. I can go on and on and on. I'm gonna say this last thing, and I'm gonna hold this against him for a while. He's a Kappa. But he's a great guy. Can we bring on Mr. Torey Alston, please? Good evening, Torey.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Henry? Brother Perry?
Yeah, we hear you well.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, we understand we have some technical difficulties. So if you see two spots for board chair Alston, it's because he's talking through one and being viewed at another. He refused to not be a part of the show.
Absolutely.
Even the technical difficulty couldn't stop him.
Right. And so since this is the 2-minute warning, this is just what we call a little flicker play. So
I'm ready.
we need all the tricks in the bag for this one tonight. So again, Mr. Alston, it's a pleasure to meet you. All that Bobby said are things that I have heard and read, and just being somewhat new to um, to the area, to hear someone give praise across the board, I think is commendable. And yeah, I'm glad to hear you and see how someone who can be placed by Governor DeSantis twice. I think you got a lot to share with us and a lot
Sure.
that we can learn from to move forward. Because being in this sort of detente does not bode well for us. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'll just tell you, look, I am glad to finally be on. And it is great to see you, Mr. Henry, Brother Perry. Thank you for the kind words as well. Look, I'm excited. And I think you both alluded to it. 10 years ago, I would not have thought, even 20 years ago, Mr. Henry, as you alluded to, this is actually 20 years of me being a Blanche Ely Tiger. So, of course, I have to say this is my 20-year class reunion. 20 years later now, serving on the school board, and now as the chair. Had no idea that this would all happen. And as I like to say all the time, and I always say it and will say it, so hopefully I don't offend the listeners, God is good. And God has been good to me. God has been good to my family. And, as you talked about, every role I've been in, now on the school board, even on the county commission. And we'll talk about, one thing that popped up a couple months ago where I think I was the first public official to really put something out there as it related to the school referendum, but we'll talk about it. Whether on the FAMU Board of Trustees, if you talk to members of the FAMU Alumni Association or parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, who sent their little ones or big ones, I should say, right, young adults to FAMU, or in any capacity, whether down in Miami-Dade schools, Mr. Henry would absolutely remind you and those listening, almost 15 years ago now, as I think about it, under a different governor, Governor Christ, a little skinny kid from the 33311 was in charge of the Office of Supplier Diversity. So I was ensuring that, Black newspapers got their fair share. And I did that many moons ago and absolutely will do it again. And I've done it in every capacity I've been in. So I'm a life member of the NAACP. For those who know my background, I was first vice president for the state NAACP for a long time. So look, this is my passion. This is home. And schools have always been, for those who know in education, a part of who I am and what's really important to me. From being a student member on the school board and now serving as chair of the board. And I call it a reform board. And many who are listening and watching probably heard me say that a lot because this is a reform board. I've been pushing them literally in the past 2 weeks to focus on the students. One thing I think I uncovered is, prior boards have spent less than 20% on student achievement, right? We're there to focus on student outcomes, focus on the students and clearly student safety. But prior boards have spent so much time on things that are, I call it day-to-day operational things. But anyway, I'll be quiet. I'm sure you probably have questions. I could go on and on about, clearly where things are, what my focus is, and, clearly holding the superintendent, general counsel, and auditor accountable because those are our 3 direct employees.
Yeah, we've been following the school board and its issues for the last month or 2 months or so, and there have been some things happening. What do you see as your first order? I mean, you're as the chair of this board. What is your first order?
Well, and I'm going to give it to you in no particular order. So it is making sure the board focuses on student achievement, period. I want to make sure that is a majority of our time, both in board meetings and workshops. And I'm going to be candid. The school board is still meeting today as it was 20 years ago, right? It meets too much, right? It talks too much, right? We can be more efficient, right? We can do things. Look at the county commission. As you know, I was just there, and this, Mr. Henry, from someone who was an icon as our former county administrator. We were efficient, having, maybe 2 meetings a month and getting a whole lot done for our community. I'm going to push the school board in that direction. Clearly, my eye is on the east side. I can go up the 95 corridor from Deerfield, Blanche Ely, Northeast, Stranahan, all the way down to Danny, as I just said, not Dania, Danny, for those that are in Dania Beach that may be listening, because those schools have been left behind. Those schools have not gotten all that they need. So that is a focus of mine. School safety clearly is important. I'll address the elephant in the room. Everyone knows the grand jury report clearly has been out. I've read all 121 pages of it. And I appreciate I think 18 individuals, I guess over the last 2 years who have contributed to that. So I have been very clear with the superintendent that she has 30 days to get back to us on her actions and recommendations on the grand jury report. ADA compliance. I am an ADA coordinator by profession as well. So me looking at all of our facilities, those individuals that may have disabilities in our school system, that's important to me, making sure they have the appropriate access and accessibility across all of our facilities and programs. And clearly, for those who know me, my eye is on small, minority, and veteran business development. I think I asked a question in our most recent workshop just a few days ago and was surprised to see where we were. So I'm going to push. I'm going to push hard because what I have seen just in really 2 weeks' time, we got to change the culture of the business culture and the climate at the school system, and I'm going to do it.
Okay. You mentioned earlier, you said about the referendum.
Yes.
So I know it takes more than just you, Mr. Alston. I'm well aware of that, and so I perhaps coined a phrase. It's not to, you and the Four Musketeers. You got some work to do. The men who have come aboard here. So as it pertains to the referendum, how do you propose to address that?
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. So let me go backwards and just say, for those that may be listening, it is no secret, and I mentioned this in my comments almost 2 weeks ago, that I was publicly against the referendum for a couple reasons. Number one, I think clearly there's been a history of mismanagement by the school board. There's a culture of distrust by the school board and the school system, more appropriately the board. I want to keep that separate. And my thought was clearly funds should remain in your pockets, right? For the taxpayers and families and those that may be watching. So clearly, back in June when I was on the county commission, I saw an item that came before us or that was coming before us that essentially said the school district just voted under general consent, meaning there was no debate, no discussion, to send double the amount of money currently for voter consideration. So essentially what I thought, look, let's leave it as a $500,000. That's where it was. That's where it is. If it was a $500,000, keep everything the same, I'm all in. But as many of our folks that are listening knows, now that the voters have passed it, right? So clearly, let me transition. The voters have passed it. Clearly, I was against it, and I've been very public, both in with the West Side Gazette, Sun Sentinel, and others, why I thought it was the wrong decision. Well, you can expect the county to be doing something similar, I think, very soon, and as it relates to taxes or millage, right? I want to stay away from government jargon. The school system and other taxing districts are doing the exact same thing. So when you add all these things together, right, where we are, as we think about Black wealth, as we think about all of our families, up and down the 95 corridor, and those that are also, that are out west, right, because there are Black folks all around, Broward County, and the underserved, right? So I'm just thinking of everyone, Black and brown folks all around this county. That's who I was thinking about when I was against the referendum, because I know that there are going to be additional increases coming from different governments. So I was thinking about my aunts and uncles and cousins who I know that definitely it will have an impact on.
Okay. Now there's a question that comes. It says, Mr. Chair, we know you and the current board secured funding for Parkway Middle School. Inquiring minds want to know the next steps. When is this project slated to begin?
Excellent question. So we just met as a board 2 days ago, and I'm going to give kudos to this new reform board. And the motion actually was made by our vice chair, but the board member representing that district, Mr. Fogenholy, has been pushing very hard on this for the last several weeks. So it was under his leadership that he's been working with the board. So I give him kudos for that. And yes, collectively as a board, Parkway Middle School Phase 2, that is one of several big items that we just added to the district facilities plan. It's technically the DEFP, but that's again government jargon. So Parkway was there, Deerfield Beach Elementary was there, and Coral Glades High School auditorium up in the Parkland Coral Springs area. Those are the big three that were added. So it is in the hopper for design and construction. And as a former Cavalier, for whoever asked the question, trust me, that is one of the projects that is top of mind for me. So feel free, definitely. Of course, it's Board Member Fogan-Holy's district, but it's also my focus as well. But it's in the hopper, and we're going to make sure it moves along as quickly as possible.
Okay. This Miss, read that, Perry.
Okay, Aretha Wimberly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my student comes home with anxieties that I feel helpless to help with because parents are shut out of student life nowadays. Mm-hmm. One complains about poor quality of lunch, another fearful about the frequent lockdowns without explanation, and fights with security standing back and letting it happen, and more.
All right, I don't know what the question is, but I'll kind of elaborate here. So I'll just say clearly, and thank you for that question. There are a series of things collectively that we can do as a community. I'm going to back up and actually just say we have to I would love to do a call to action. And that is, with our faith community, our business community, our education leaders, homeowners association presidents, to really rally around what can we do collectively to ensure our students are getting all the tools and resources they need. I'm going to forecast something on your show, so you're going to have it breaking here, Mr. Henry and Brother Perry. Next week during our budget session, I'm going to be putting together a series of recommendations that has never been done before on the school board. I am not sitting there to quote unquote hold the seat. I'm sitting there to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our students and that we will become an A school district. That's what I'm pushing this superintendent and district to focus on. I've been down in Miami-Dade schools. I worked under Carvalho. So I know what it's like in terms of being a leader. I know what it's like pushing the organization. I know what it's like being innovative and thinking outside the box. So I'll tell you, as this board chair who's serving, hopefully the parents and families and even students that are watching should know that you have someone who knows the community, who's from the community, who has the best interests of the community. And I'm going to hold everyone accountable and push us forward in the right direction. And look, change is hard. Reform is hard. But guess what? Leadership, is also, something that is required really for all of our public officials. It's easy, and I'll just say this, it's always easy for me to vote yes on everything. That's easy. But when you vote no on something and you have to stand and explain to your stakeholders, constituents, and neighbors why, people respect that. I've done that. If something doesn't look good, if it doesn't feel good, or if it smells a little funny, you can always count that I'm going to ask a tough question. And if warranted, clearly I'll vote no.
Okay. There is things in the news as it pertains to a couple of District 1, School District 1, and the I guess the sitting district person and one who's vying for the seat. There seems to be some allegations and some misconduct, and so I don't know how does a board chair, or even if that's something on your dashboard, to even deal with. And I know there are some other things that have been said in about an incident that occurred at your swearing in. There's a lot of things happening.
Oh yeah.
And not to big you up, but I am. I know that you're capable and have shown your abilities to handle situations that are contrary to what someone might want to present. So,
well, I am happy to elaborate on my own. So thank you for that pitch. So for those who know me, for those who are listening, Of course, you know me well, Mr. Henry, you and the family, and many others that I know are watching and texting me right now. But I've always been independent minded. I've always done the right thing. I will always do the right thing. I think anyone who's served with me, whether it's the mayor and county commissioners, you pick any one of them, they tell you that we were collegial. And I think we probably 99.9% of every vote was probably unanimous. Similarly to the school board, where I've been serving now, I guess almost about 2 weeks, give or take. But yes, you're absolutely correct. And I'll just, put this, very candid. My focus is the students. My focus is not to ensure that any stakeholder group comes before the students. Clearly, there was a report regarding the BTU leader. And that report that I think I saw was absolutely correct, because I was very clear on day one with everyone. My focus is the kids. My focus is making sure that we talk about, because I really haven't heard it probably in the last several years, we have an alarming education emergency right now in our community. If you look at the proficiency levels today compared to where we were before the pandemic, we're behind. And I will be proposing some very sensible things next week during our budget workshop that I believe will help all of our families, those that are not proficient, many of our kids that may be level 1 and level 2 students. We got to focus on them. 3rd, 8th grade, many of those critical grade levels. So again, I'm forecasting on your show first, but there's more to come next week. Meaningful reform. I'm not, again, just, talking, big picture platitudes. I'm diving in the weeds, and I want to commend, if I can, I had a great conversation with Jermaine Smith-Baugh at the Urban League pretty much about a week ago on where we are with the state of Black and Brown students in the Broward County School District. And, looking at the data, now asking the school district to pull the data. And now that I have the data, I'm alarmed. And I want to make sure that all of our public officials and elected officials know that we have a problem. When 52% of our 3rd graders are proficient in English, that's a problem. When 48% of our 9th graders are proficient in algebra, that's a problem. When 47% of our 8th graders are proficient in science, that's a problem. So I'm going to be spending the next week or two pushing many of these data points as we compare where we were collectively before the pandemic to where we are now with all of our students and our Black and Brown students. That's a focus for me because I want to make sure our students have all the resources and tools they need to succeed, to be successful. And that's what I'm focused on. But yes, to your point, the BTU leader or anyone, maybe that's what they were accustomed to before on the prior school board. But under this leadership, I report to the students, not to anyone else.
Okay, good. And Perry, you read a lot better than I do. There's a comment there, but I also want to throw back to Mr. Wiggins. Mr. Wiggins was a former, how do you say, somebody who ran for
former candidate.
Yeah, exactly. If you can pull Paul's, Mr. Wiggins comment up, and then if you could read Miss Linda Clendedy, that would be good.
Okay, Mr. Alston, as a former candidate for Broward County School Board District 1, I am excited about the conversation regarding the focus on inner city infrastructure in our Southeast schools. I look forward to being a part of that conversation.
And Brother Wiggins, I know you from afar. You will be a part of the conversation. So I look forward to reaching out to you. I know how to get you.
Okay.
I know you.
Miss Clendedy, am I saying her name correctly?
Yeah, Linda Ann Clendedy. Mr. Alston, are you planning on letting the public sit in on the boardroom like it was, with not a few chairs, but a few, but the way it was a few years ago, when the community could come to the meetings and speak, not be shut up like they were recently before you became chair? Thank you for your changes you've made so far. We're lucky to have you.
Yeah, so there are two things, and I think, Ms. Linda, thank you for that. Since I have been chair, I have not turned the microphone off on any public speaker. I will not do that if everyone clearly, and I think we're all professionals, we understand decorum. And that's what I've done. And I think the Sun Sentinel, I was happy to see their review of, I think, day 1 and day 2 for me on the job. So that will continue. To the second part of the question regarding the boardroom the way it used to be, you're absolutely correct. 20 years ago, and really not that long ago, there was more space in the boardroom for the public. So I've started the conversation. I'll tell you, Ms. Linda, and those that are listening and watching, it's really more around safety. So I'm beginning to understand, kind of where things are. And I'll just say the only thing I can say, because there are some pending safety concerns, that's why it's in the current configuration, but more to come.
Okay. And leading into that, okay, well, we have another question. I'll wait.
Miss Kimberly Burke.
Yeah, Miss Kimberly Burke. Broward, who is it? High school. Blanche Ely.
Blanche Ely. Yep. Didn't have algebra teachers, and everyone knew.
And everyone knew all. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, Miss Mulhorn. Good to hear from you. Good to see you again. I just a few days ago. And look, you have a Blanche Ely Tiger up there on the school board, as you know. And I look forward to working with you on that. So we'll get together offline.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna jump over here. Another question comes in that says,
well, before
do
you,
your thing.
okay, because I do want to piggyback on the school board meetings. And it's a 2-part question. One, is the board meetings held during the day or the afternoon? I mean, or the evening?
No, great question. So similar to most government agencies, they are either during the day. Some by law must be at a time certain. So for example, the meeting we just had 2 days ago on the district education facilities plan, by law, that's required at 5 p.m. So yeah, there are certain meetings that are during the day. Sometime the meeting will probably start around 10, right? There are some workshops that may start around 10. Some could start midday, and some also in the evening. But yes, they are during the day.
Yeah. General board meetings, I know you distinguish a lot, but I guess maybe, and you said you were trying to cut that down to 2, so I assume those were the general meetings. So
let me tell you the today, and then I'm going to tell you post Torey as chair. So there have been 4 meetings per month, and sometimes more than 4 meetings per month for the school district. We're not efficient. Someone's not efficient. Let me step back. Someone's not efficient. Staff is not doing or bringing or crunching information so it's digestible, right, in the appropriate time so you can get some decision points from the board. So as I compare the county commission to the school district, 2 different worlds when it comes to governance. So I'm pushing this school board because, half of the board, as you know, was just appointed. The other half is returning, right, back on the board. But we cannot focus on the day-to-day operation of the school district. Many like to meddle, right? That's not my job, right? My job is to make sure that I hold. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. Go ahead. Finish.
I was only saying my job is to make sure that I hold 3 people accountable. And I've been very clear about that. The superintendent, the general counsel, and the auditor. Those are the 3 people that report directly to the school board. But I will never call anyone to hire, fire, or meddle in day-to-day operations. I think that's where this board clearly, and I'm just going to be candid, right? The grand jury clearly talked about a couple different aspects, but just me, the last 2 weeks, I have learned so much and seen so much. And prior boards have really focused on the day-to-day and not focused on what they should, which is the students, pushing learning gains, pushing learning outcomes, making sure that our students have what they need. Because me looking at the data, me looking at the budget, and I've gone through it, there's more that we can do, and I'm going to do it next week.
Right. And I say that because the confusion in us even understanding when those meetings, those of us who are concerned, who would even be willing to engage in the process, find it hard. Secondarily, it seems as though when board meetings are brought to the forefront of the public's attention, it is often in response to a conflict. Right. How can we help resolve this issue in such that the information is there, that even we know ahead of time what that agenda is?
So I will work with, you have my word, I'm going to work with our team, our comms department, as we create a new schedule on how we meet as a board. And I'm happy to, do something in the paper as well, right, to help promote that. And I'll make sure that the school district and others, can do the same.
Okay, great. Now, excuse me, there's a question that says, and I don't know if has the new board discussed right-sizing the district? And can you explain to our audience what is meant by right-sizing?
Well, everyone thinks of right-sizing differently. So let me try to go where I think you're going. So to some, right-sizing is a budget conversation. To some, right-sizing is looking at capacity, looking at our schools, right? Schools that are under-enrolled. Because look, I'm just going to be candid. There are many issues that have been kicked down the road, unfortunately, that now this new board has to deal with, because prior boards did not deal with it and did not want to, stand up, to pressure. I mean, I'm just going to call it what it is, right? It's hard to make tough decisions, right? Clearly, I understand when it comes to school boundaries, redistricting, right? Merging schools, closing schools, right? Those are tough conversations. Budget is a tough conversation, right? If you're trying to add something to the budget, if you're trying to cut something out of the budget, or if you're trying to, add, more dollars for a particular employee group. So I'll just be broad because I know that different things are happening right now, right? So that's my thought.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you said you mentioned earlier about the meetings in the communications department. It's been a while since the West Side Gazette and other Black newspapers have been included in the communication process that comes from the school board. In terms of, we can check and it's there. A lot of
that's news to me, so we're gonna fix that. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of communication is done from a daily paper's perspective, right? To discount perhaps the weeklies and not understanding the far-reaching tentacles that community newspapers have, the capabilities of 2-minute warnings, other digital aspects. So I'm asking that in your dashboard, in your view, that you take a look at all these community newspapers and use them, because they're actually that the community depends on. So
that's right. That. Well, I'm there 110%. And for those that are listening and watching, I've done it before and I'm going to do it again. So done deal.
Okay. Let's see. Mr. Alston, is there anything that, and I see time is winding up, is there anything that you want to state that would give us hope that we don't continue to see this marching out of personnel and school board members and the like, to give us hope again in our school system?
Fair question. So for those that are listening and watching, you have, I would say, a very competent board that looks like Broward. So I'm going to just, I'm going to hit a few things, very, very directly and clear, as I've heard, many questions as well, right? And comments, just from the community, offline, which is, also very fair, about where the district is headed, the composition of the board. So I will tell you, as I look at and reflect on the 9 of us, you have a combination of those who have school backgrounds, those who've been in the classroom. You have a combination of those who are attorneys, business owners, those who, have a construction background, those who have worked in the administrative level of other school districts. So collectively, you have a good group who can hold the school district steady. You have a good group of 9 individuals on the school board who are all from Broward, know Broward, those both who are returning to the board, and those who were just appointed. So I can assure you, both to our instructional and non-instructional employees of Broward schools, just know the board, you're in good hands. Clearly, you have a board chair, and I'll keep my family private because some are also in Broward schools, right? And many of my best friends and classmates are in Broward schools. So I know the pulse of the classroom. I know the pulse of the regions. I know the pulse of downtown at the KC Wright Administration Building. As I said in my comments, Mr. Henry, Brother Perry, I know I went to school with the Wright grands. So I know the Wright family. I was proud that my former principal and former deputy superintendent, Dr. Erling Smiley, stood with my family to swear me into the school board. I am proud that I'm coming behind Ben Williams, who was the first Black male to chair the board. And now I guess I'm the second Black male, first millennial and the youngest to chair the board. And I don't want to be the last, let me say that. And clearly, I know I saw Brother Adderley from afar, who's also a former student advisor to the board, who ran a very positive race, and many others. So, my message again to the employees, to those that are listening and watching, just know you have a competent, talented, diverse, experienced board who will ensure that student achievement is priority number one. That will always remain our priority. We're not going to meddle in day-to-day operations. We're going to focus on the kids, make sure they have what they need. School safety is important because clearly we have an obligation. If you send your child to a school as a parent, as I am, you want your child to make sure that he or she comes back home. We have that obligation as well. So for those that are listening and watching, just know you have a competent board. I'm excited to serve as chair. I'm excited to lead this reform board who's already making some great change and doing some big things and more to come. As I'll tell you, there are two things when it comes to governance. One is policy, right? Everyone talks about procedures and day-to-day, but we're going to make some policy changes that are impactful for our kids. And when the budget occurs next week, there's going to be some big changes that I'll be proposing that's going to help move many of our level 1 and level 2 students along as well.
Mm-hmm. That Miss is that Wimberly?
Yeah, Miss Wimberly.
Mm-hmm.
She says students are hearing about the Martin Stone Douglas sentencing trial, the gun control debates, more mass shootings. They're afraid that one day violence will be real for them at school. What is in place to help students go through school day after lockdown or alerts? This emotional roller coaster is unhealthy without mental health support at school. Again, this is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Ms. Wimberly, and for the comment and question. So I think as many of the listening public, as you know, one piece of the referendum that the voters passed by over 50+1, there's a component of that $223 million that's geared for mental health, right? So that's one component. So just know that there is a plan in place. We've debated it as a board. Prior boards have looked at it as it relates to ensuring that we have the appropriate mental health counselors and resources at all schools. Secondly, I think to your point around safety, and we just had 2 closed door discussions on it. So I'll just speak very high level, as I think I just said probably a minute ago. You are absolutely correct. As a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, if you send your child to any Broward public school, you have the right to know that he or she is safe. And that's the commitment that we are making sure that we hold the superintendent accountable, that we harden all of our facilities, that we have the appropriate security apparatus in all of our schools, so that, yes, you can feel confident knowing if you send your little one, for me, my little Elliot or little Torey to school, knowing that when they come back home, or that they will be coming back home because their school environment is safe, sound, and secure. So just know that, that too is a part of my focus.
Okay. Now, I see Brother Wright is chiming in. This conversation keeps me hopeful for our school board district. Looking forward to helping support your efforts, Mr. Alston. And also, Mr. Alston, what was I going to say?
Thank you, Deacon and Rattler and my friend.
Man,
Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
you had something to say?
No, go ahead. Yeah. Maybe my thoughts will catch up.
You know, Mr. Austin, Bobby has sort of been wondering where I'm gonna go with this one, but
Yeah, go right ahead.
you know, our school board races are non-political.
Yes,
But the politics are there front and center.
that's
In
right.
fact, you were brought on from a political maneuver. You know,
That's right.
and I don't mean that in a bad way, but politics were involved. And I guess I want to deal with the elephant in the room.
I was waiting for this one, Brother Perry. I'm waiting. Yeah.
Really in the room, whatever
Yes.
we want to put in this room. Everything you say, I am with you. I'm hopeful. But the politics are going to be there. Your politics are going to be up front and center. I saw this when Sheriff Tony.
Sure. Yep.
What can we do to help us understand this political dynamic that we have to deal with?
That's a fair question.
I know we started talking about, the school board with 9 white women. We can talk about the school board with 9 Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything of the same will give us those results. How can you help ignite this understanding that we need both? You are a Republican.
Yes.
I'll be first to say we need a viable Republican Party, because without it, we get weak Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just as critical of Democrats and where we are, not just on our school board, but on our county.
Right.
And so I'm hopeful because, as Ms. Wembley said earlier, this is personal. This ain't my politics is personal.
That's right.
And so your presence here tonight keeps us hopeful. But what can we do to help improve this dynamic that we don't need an all-black board, we don't need an all-Democratic board, and we need Republicans to come to their goddamn mind and help us?
So you just packaged a couple good questions. I'm going to try to see if I can unpackage it. So no, you are absolutely correct. And as you can tell, I guess we've been talking now, 30, 45, 50 minutes. Not once did I use the term Democrat, Republican, or independent. I've talked about issues. And for those who know me, I am very issue driven. I'm very policy driven. I'm a numbers guy, right? So that makes me tick. And anyone who has followed, whether I was on the FAMU board, on the county commission, and now on the school board, I have done sensible things, and I'm not afraid to go against the grain when need be. So, for those who have watched, I used the example on the school tax referendum. No leader stood up and said anything publicly. No one. I went to the Sun Sentinel on my own to put that there. I went to the West Side Gazette also to put it there, to make sure that there was another perspective in view as it relates to the impact to our families, right? Let me say it differently. The impact to Black families, okay? The impact to my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, right? So for me, that is always my view. How does it impact, our community, our families, our kids? As it relates to us ensuring that we have Democrats, Republicans, and independents at the table, I'm just going to talk openly and candidly. Gone are the days, unfortunately, right, when you had Art Kennedy, Dorsey Miller, Al C., and I can go down the line, right, that could get together, that could rally the community, that would get all of our public and elected officials on one accord on these issues, right? Alc's chief of staff was a Republican, right? So as I fast forward to today, I'm just being candid. Everyone knows it. There's this camp, there's this camp, there's this camp. We as a people, as Black folks, we lose. The reason, Brother Perry, that I was appointed to the county commission, and I'm not, pointing at anyone, and now to the school board, is because the governor said, you know what? Every time you have been somewhere, you do what's right, you help your community, and that's all he's asked. No, he hasn't asked me to do, and I think I've seen different chats. Oh, the governor said he's gonna, the governor calls him every day. Well, that means you don't understand government, right? Talk to the legislative delegation, and they'll tell you how often they interact, with the other side, right? Both on the House and the Senate, right? Talk to school board members, county commissioners, city elected officials. They'll tell you how often they talk to both sides, Democrats and Republicans, when it comes to issues. So, for me, as I told the board, I leave partisanship at the door. I haven't said the words Democrat, Republican, Independent at any point during our school board meetings. Because for me, what's important, if we keep the kids at the center of what we do, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, we should always agree, period.
Exactly. All right, that's one way to end this program. It started off, and I think it's great. Again, we can't have honest conversation if we can't put it on the table and have the conversation and not judge based upon some ideology that you have formed yourself personally about something else until you get the facts. And I know sometimes it's difficult, especially when you come in to a situation that has not been pleasant, and the fact that you're here. Now, I don't necessarily agree with the governor, but I damn sure think you made a good choice for you. I'm gonna say that, without a doubt.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. And I'll just say this for our students that may be watching, understanding government, right? So that I'm gonna go back to you, Brother Perry. Regardless of who the governor is or was, any governor, as a result of a grand jury recommendation, would have acted. Any governor, okay? Right. So regardless of whether that governor was Democrat, Republican, or Independent. So that's where I try to pull the politics out of it for folks who say, oh my goodness, what's going on? I said, well, guess what? He's the governor. That's his prerogative. If someone else were governor today, right, if they got a grand jury recommendation saying do this, the next day it would have been done as well. So for me, that's when I try to, remove the politics because, yeah.
Okay, here we go. It's time to wrap it up. Mr. Alston, you have 30 seconds to give us something added to what you've already said. And Perry, going to come down in your 30 seconds, and I'm going to end it with my hour.
Mr. Henry, Brother Perry, for the listening audience that may be listening and watching, this was great. Happy to have an open conversation about great things happening with Broward schools. There are great things happening. Yes, reform is taking place. Yes, we're moving things in the right direction, in a positive direction. But the kids will always be our focused on student outcomes, focusing on student achievement, and really moving this school district from a B district to an A district. That's my goal. And that's, as chairman, I'm making sure that is our main focus as a board. Lastly, there is an education emergency. So my call to action is for everyone listening, whether it's clergy, business leaders, local leaders, our elected officials, we need you to act. We need you to think through how you can support Broward kids. We have an emergency. We're going to talk about it, and I'll be talking about it over the next 30 days publicly as well. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Before you say something here, Mr. Alston, aside from your personal contact information, how can someone get in contact with you if there's something that they would like to discuss?
Yes, thank you for that. And I should have done that up front. So my email address for the listening public is Torey, Torey, .Alston, Alston, at browardschools.com. Torey.Alston at browardschools.com. Or you can call 754-321-2002, 754-321-2002. Thank you again.
Mr. Butler?
Okay, Chairman Alston, and I say that with all respect. Thank you for joining us. One of the good things about having someone so articulate and understanding of the issues is that it brings a comfort. And I guess my words is really to our audience and all of us, because we'll get comfortable and not do anything to help this leader. And so what we've asked for, the Lord has allowed, but with each blessing comes a responsibility. And it's our responsibility to help Mr. Alston achieve all that he's put forth. We'll critique because we're good at that. But we've got to change the game plan in how we support good leaders. Like I said, I've seen school districts in Houston, in my hometown, go through the same thing in terms of having the opportunity and have it squandered because we didn't do our part. And so it's not enough for us just to get leaders and see them do and not hold them accountable. It requires our responsibility, and Chairman Alston has been receptive, and so it behooves us to make our voices heard when there's someone that has a receptive ear. And so, thank you.
Very good. And to all of our viewers and listeners and those who submitted questions, we certainly appreciate it, and we need more of this. If we are to move the pendulum forward in the direction that we so choose, and it's going to take us, and we have to get involved. On another note, I was very impressed with the school district 5 members who got together to mend fences and have a conversation about maybe some of the things that they shouldn't have done and to improve on some of the things that they have done. So we are hoping in the near future that we have an opportunity to bring the 2 candidates who are in the run for the District 5 seat. Excellent. That's Jeff Holness and that's Ruth Carter Lynch, to bring them on the show and see what they have to say, because it is our students that deserve our full attention, and that full attention should include conversations from the general public and from those who are concerned about our students.
And I do want to make a correction. Candidate Lynch did come on our show.
Yeah, before.
Early on.
Yeah, so we want to bring them back and perhaps have them discuss their opinions and thoughts together in an open session, so no one can say that somebody said whatever. So, Mr. Alston, we sincerely thank you. And as one of our viewers said, we need prayer back in our schools. So let's take it easy. Have a good night. God bless you all. And let's get ready to continue these conversations. Thank you.